What is up, my fellow mobile gamers here on YouTube? My name is NimbleThor, and today we are gonna have a peek at a new dungeon crawler roguelike adventure indie game, I think I got that right, called Tiny Tomb. Now, Tiny Tomb is brand new, and after having waited for its release for a good few months at least, I want to say maybe even a half year, I only just now realized that it has actually been developed by a team of Danish indie game developers. So shout out to my fellow Danes out there. Thanks for making an awesome new mobile game for us mobile gamers. Now let's get into the actual gameplay though. So we take control of a character called Sam that has to get through 4 worlds of dungeons to collect food for a godlike creature that has somehow captured us. I don't want to get too far into the story and the lore of that. I want you guys to be able to explore that on your own if you decide to dive into this game. The download links, of course, can be found in the description box down below this video. But all you need to know for now is that we have to go through these dungeons and we have to collect food for a godlike creature. At the beginning of every play session, we can't really do anything other than just jump around in this blocky dungeon setup, and we can smack boxes sometimes to attempt to get some gold, and we can use that gold later on to hopefully buy a new weapon or maybe buy some extra life. If we have lost a life, we have 3 lives, and after we lose all of them, we have to restart completely from the beginning as well. So that's of course the roguelike, or at the very least roguelite element in this game. I sometimes call games roguelike, even though some of you guys tell me that they're actually roguelite instead of roguelike. I don't know how to get that right. I'm gonna call this one a roguelike, and I hope that's gonna be okay with you guys. Now, we have to avoid these boxes here, and there are many of these types of traps and enemies in the game. We're only just getting started here, and we're also gonna reach some snakes later on. Those can be a bit tricky as well, because you have to attack them from the correct angle. Now, I do wonder how we're gonna get through that door over there, because it's locked. So, okay, there's one extra exit though from this dungeon, from this room, and that is over here. Here is one of the snakes, as I was telling you guys about. So here's what's gonna happen. If I walk forward now, we're gonna lose a life. So instead, I'm gonna jump over here and attack the snake from the side, and that is how you deal with a little red snaky snake in this game. Now, right now, we don't have any weapons, but we are very soon, I hope so at least, gonna find a new weapon. And so that's going to be pretty awesome. And that's going to help us deal with these enemies a bit more easily, at least. Now, look at this gold piece over here. We can't actually jump over there. So this is actually an example where we needed some sort of boots. Maybe, I know you can get some boots that allow you to jump over water in order to get that gold coin. And that is kind of frustrating because we don't have that yet. And also, I don't think we did get the key. We did get the key. So we can at least now continue through this door. Maybe we're going to get some boots. Nope, this is actually the end of this dungeon, and we're gonna be transported over to Garden 1. So it's still in the first world, but it's the second part of the first world, and there are 4 worlds in total to get through. Now, there are quite a few different types of enemies as well, and the puzzle element of this game is that we basically have to figure out how to attack those, and you do that through trial and error. And this is actually a good example. Look at this dungeon right here. Now, this is interesting. We also picked something up, by the way. I didn't really talk about that, but we picked up some sort of power-up, and I don't know how to use it. So for now, we lost a life. So for now, I mean, can we do anything with this one? I don't even think so. Maybe we get more gold with this one. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's a gold backpack. I don't really know. Now, the trick with these traps here is that we have to move quickly in order to avoid losing any life. So I think we have to move back and forth here. Now look at that. That is how you deal with these traps. And having gotten through those, we could then tap on that tile that opened the door over there. So that's actually a good example of the puzzle-like gameplay that you'll also see from this game. So it's not all action-based, it's a bit more slow-paced, strategic, or puzzle-like, if you will. So that is actually the core gameplay, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed this game. I liked it right from the first moment I got into it. The tutorial is great at explaining you what to do without spending too much time on it. I really hate long tutorials, but the blocky world is also just really well designed. That's another thing I really appreciate, and that combined with the UI and the music in this game creates a very nice and immersive gameplay experience. Now look at this. We reached a shop where we can either buy those jumpy boots that I talked about. We don't have enough gold for that though. Or we can buy a sword. That's interesting. I don't think I've gotten one of those swords before. Or we can choose to stock up on health points. I am gonna go for the sword, so let's see how that works. I know that we can trigger this one by holding down and then releasing. That's interesting. So I guess this allows us to attack enemies that are 1 tile away from us. We're gonna try that the next time we find a snake, such as, for example, right now. I think this is where we can use this one. Look at this. Yes, there we go. Dealing damage to 2 snakes at once. We can't attack someone that is too far away from us, though, but we should be able to, yes, take out the snake there. That's pretty awesome. That is very useful indeed. And I think we can also use it to probably trigger these boxes. And, of course, we still have to get away in time, but we executed that nearly perfectly. There were no gold boxes in there, but what is this, though? There's a new sort of chest here that included gold, I guess. So we're now back to 21 gold, so I guess we could actually go back to the shop. And if I remember correctly, 21 gold is enough to get 1 more HP, isn't it? We also picked up the key, though, so we can also just continue. But I want to get 3 lives again before we continue on our little dungeon crawling mission here, our little extravaganza. Let's see what's waiting for us here in the next part of the dungeon. Yes, this was the end of this part of the dungeon, actually. So now we're good to go. Garden 1, Section 3 now. This might actually be the furthest I've come in this game so far. I typically die in Garden 1, Section 2, which I guess says more about my skills in playing this game than anything else, really. Now, something I didn't talk about yet is that there are actually 2 different control schemes. So right now, you might have already noticed that I'm simply swiping on the screen to move in any direction, but we can also go over here to the menu, and we can switch this little, or flip this little button here, which, by the way, can we talk about a very well-made menu here that looks so cool. But we can then use buttons instead to move around. Some might prefer that. I read some reviews of this game, or some comments on the app stores of this game, and some people said that the swipe controls were a bit too difficult for them, and so that they actually preferred the buttons instead. I would tend to agree. I think the buttons are a bit more intuitive, but you've got both options, and that's always nice to see, especially in a game like this, where you sometimes have to move very, very quickly to avoid getting hit by enemies or traps or the like. Now, I skipped a bit ahead here because I wanted to show you guys how it looks like when you finish the first part of this game. We go into this special teleporter here, and then we move on to Dungeon 2 instead of Dungeon 1. So I guess it wasn't true that this was the furthest I've gone, because I've definitely been here in Dungeon 2 before. Now, there seems to be some sort of character doing fitness over here. A fit body works better, stay strong, and you won't get easily defeated. Well, that was helpful, I guess. So, as you guys can see, the dungeon layout is the same, but the graphics change quite a bit, and I really love the art style of this game. It has sort of that, you know, the blocky Minecraft-esque or Minecraft-like feeling to it, but I find it to be a pretty interesting take on what could have easily instead been sort of a typical 8-bit indie game. I like that these guys went in a different direction than the typical. But this is a free-to-play game, though, so let's just address the elephant in the room. How does this game monetize? Well, we can buy resurrection points to give ourselves 1 extra life when we die. We can buy those through in-app purchases. Apart from that, the game also sometimes throws us an advertisement on our way to the next level or the next part of these dungeons. So expect to see 2 or 3, maybe 4 advertisements per world. Now, these advertisements can be removed through a single $3 in-app purchase, though, which I'm definitely recommending you buy if you really enjoy the game. First of all, to support the game developers, but also then, you know, you don't have to live with the advertisements. Now, the advertisements can be skipped instantly, at least the ones I've seen so far, so they're really not that annoying, but again, $3 and you can then view this game as sort of a premium gameplay experience. So there you have it, Nimble Nation, dungeon crawling, lots of interesting weapons, a polished indie art style, and no energy system or horrible monetization system like that. I hope that you enjoy this game if you do decide to check it out for yourselves. And with this said, let's now have a look at the mobile gaming news of the day, which is that Candy Crush Soda Saga. Talk about a bit of a jump from an indie game to one of the most heavily monetized games of all time. But anyway, Candy Crush Soda Saga has now earned more than $2 billion of revenue since its launch back in 2014. And about 50% of that revenue has come from players in the US alone, which I found pretty impressive, actually, considering that the US is typically not the biggest market. Asia is typically the biggest market for mobile games. But in case you're not up to date on your Candy Crush history knowledge, though, Candy Crush Soda Saga is not even the first and most successful game from these developers called King. The first Candy Crush game, which released back in 2012, is still raking in hundreds of million dollars as well, in addition to this Candy Crush Soda Saga, which I guess you can consider as Candy Crush number 2 or something like that. But this begs the question though, how are they making so much money? Well, it might have to do with the fact that on Android, the average revenue per user in this game is around $3 and on iOS, and get this, you might have to sit down guys if you don't already, they are earning $17 on average per player of the game, and that's for the Candy Crush games. So I guess heavy monetization does help sometimes, it seems. But fortunately though, we don't have any of that bullshit here in Tiny Toon, so let's end it off on that note. And so thanks a lot for watching till the end of this video, and until next time, just keep gaming, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys around.